And then he comes up and he's like, look, you know, and he's sitting next to my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, it's cool if you want to stand there. And the next thing you know, both arms all the way around, with full embrace. It was really sketchy. Seth is laughing. What was he doing? Sorry, you were there. What was he trying to do?
Trying to make friends.
Trying to make friends. Yeah, it was really scary. And someone else, you know, after we got back, someone else I was sitting in the lobby bar with said that they had somebody hugging up on them today. Who was that? Is that normal? Was that you, Elena?
That was yesterday.
Somebody was hugging you? Yeah, it's really odd. So, I've never had that happen before. So.
I told Will, listen, I'm here, but no.
Damn it! I've been looking for you all day. I made a promise to you. Here's your supplier. It's 50 cents per set. It's all set to go. You're welcome. Thank you. Golly, I've been looking for him all day, haven't I, guys? I have the other item too on my phone. All right, sorry.
Okay, yeah, cool. I needed them to be, you know, this is what we want to say, and we really want to make sure we get a good relationship out of it and a good deal so we can move forward with it. And they were right on board with that. And we went inside and we had one interpreter that was just right on the money in making sure that everything in the PO, and we collaborated the whole time. So the only horror story was what I was perceiving in my own head to happen. And what I did was just use the tremendous resources that you've given us. And that was the brilliance and intelligence of the interpreters that we had to work with, and just made them a part of the team, and Guanxi. And so I was like highly confident. Will something blow up? Potentially, but we'll make sure we're going to hold you accountable on it if that happens. Because Shawn said just put those POs in and moving inside of that frame. So that was a horror story, but it had a happy ending because we had such great people to work with and tremendous experience. And thank you, Shawn, for putting this together for us.
I remember now, this gentleman here was about ready to break the ice on his first purchase order.
I'm not sure if any of them are any good, but I wrote 7 with 26 products. So. But I feel like I still need to go back tomorrow and do more, so.
That's the spirit.
All right, and halfway through the day, I wanted to go back to some of their business cards I collected yesterday, and through the process of sorting the sectors, my translator sort of lost all the cards, and then her knee broke down and we couldn't walk at all, so it was kind of stressful. So it was quite a hectic day, but we still got that done. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Congratulations. Anybody else want to share? This wasn't our horror story, but we're inside this store and we hear this commotion outside, screaming and hollering, and we go outside and there's like 10 security guards around this lady, and apparently they told her she couldn't sell her fruit. Wow. So she got her watermelon and just splattered it on the ground, man, and they hollered it out and everybody's screaming and hollering. I thought, man, we got it made back in the U.S.
Wow. So let me get it straight. They can sell their fake Nike and New Balance sneakers, but you can't sell watermelon.
She couldn't sell watermelon.
That's tough.
So this isn't a war story, but just a success story. So I wrote my first purchase orders today, which felt great. And I was saying over dinner with some friends that yesterday it came up how to approach negotiation and start off with, if we were to place an order for 5,000 units, what is the unit cost, and then our company policy for a test order of 200 units. So the difference of 20 cents. And you know, white box, no problem. And by the end, and can I take some samples from my boss? I'm happy to pay. No problem. They just bring out brand new clean samples from a cupboard, and I look forward to doing business with you. So it was like night and day. So thank you so much for sharing that.
The 20 cents difference, was it on like a $15 product? Or?
Okay, so for one of my brands, I spent the entire day there, basically. But I have 83 different variations.
Show off.
No, but one more thing about this. Okay, two more things. One is that it's so exactly the niche that I love. Like, I am so proud of this product, and it's something that's not on Amazon that I can actually go to retail stores with. So for me, this has like been an amazing, amazing trip. So I want to thank everyone who's here and you guys for putting this all together. So thank you so much.
How many purchase orders did you write?
23 products.
23 products, yeah!
23 products?
He didn't have one yesterday, man.
Oh, you were up here yesterday. So
Yeah.
you're hiding.
Right on.
Did you get zippers? No zippers? No zippers, right.
Oh, I got to brag on somebody too. As soon as I find him, really well-dressed dude. Let's see here. I ran into him in
To
the
your
market.
left, second row.
Oh,
That, not me.
oh, here he is. He changed his shirt. So
He's been trying to
Not
hide
well
from
dressed
us.
anymore.
I was being super lazy as usual, and I was sitting in one of the stalls, whatever you want to call it. Seth and I were ordering product. I think that one stop we ended up buying 12 different products, and it was pure laziness. I'm telling you, I'm sitting like this. Seth's ready to walk, and I'm begging him to sell me something. I'm looking around. Is there anything else in there I need? Yeah. So we had all this stuff piled up, and what's your name? I'm sorry. Frank walks by and he's like, hey. I see you, and I'm like, oh shit. So I walk out like this, around the corner, so he can't see what we're doing, right? How you doing, Frank? He says, okay, he didn't have his tag on, I don't think, so I didn't know his name. Anyway, he says, something like this. I'm gonna tell it about 95% right. Something like, I've been selling this product for over a year now, and I'm paying $7 from a wholesaler in New York. Okay, sounds good. Amazon business is making money, he's happy, everything's going well for him. Still on track, and so I'm, just pushing the fast forward button because I don't want him to see what I'm buying. So basically, he says something to the effect of he hooked up with someone who he actually purchased product for, and you know what? This is going to be better. Can you tell the story? Sure. I'm going to screw it up, but it's amazing. Honestly, you guys are going to enjoy it. Sorry, buddy.
So speed was important when we were getting started, so we found a supplier in our home state of New Jersey that was a wholesaler. And I knew they were getting the product from China, but the math still worked. So we put it on Amazon, it sold really well, but then the wholesaler kept running out of stock. So I said, we got to find a supplier in China that we can order from directly. So found the same product on Alibaba. I knew it was a sourcing agent, not the manufacturer, but the price was much less. So ordered several times with this sourcing agent, and always did a good job for us. Wasn't really even planning to look at that product on this trip because I was here to look for new products, but happened to look in an old email exchange with him, and it turns out he's actually based here in Yiwu. And so we met this morning, and I said, hey, by the way, I'm buying these other products from another big wholesaler in the US, and I'm having the same problem. I showed him pictures of the products. He walked me directly to the stall that is the supplier for one of the largest wholesalers in New York for this line of products. And the product I had been paying $7 a unit for, I got for $1.50.
Love when that happens. That's your aha moment. Love it. Let's see. No more war stories? A couple more? Okay. Here we have David. He wants to make sure that everyone understands when you submit a purchase order, and whether or not you tell the supplier that your purchasing or your procurement agent is going to pay the bill or not, whether you tell him he will or not, he's not going to pay the bill until you actually wire him your money. So, well, there seems to be a little bit of confusion because he's getting phone calls all day long. They say, well, Joe told me, I'm sorry if there's a Joe in here, but Joe told me that you were going to pay this for me. He says, well, let me get back to you on that. It must have happened at least 3 times while we were sitting doing a little brainstorming session. And he said, make sure everyone knows that I'm not going to use my money to pay for their product. So the way this is going to go down, and I'm sorry if it sounds redundant, give your purchase order which you already should have, to your translator. If not, give it to David or one of his team. And then he's going to confirm the order and the details with the supplier. He's going to email you or whatever contact information you supply with the total dollar amount and wire instructions. So you'll make one transfer to him, the painter group. He'll pay the supplier out of your money that he's holding in account. Does that not make sense to anyone? Okay, we cleared that one up.
And how do we get it from David to the next step before we get it to Amazon?
Yeah, that's been covered several times, but we can huddle after this if you want. I'll go over it with you. He wanted me to remind everyone that if, oh, I'm sorry, question about
Shawn,
that.
I have a question about that point. If there are 4 POs or 5 POs, let's say, and we have to pay it all, can we do it in one wire?
One wire,
POs?
yes.
One wire for
That's one of the benefits and the cost savings for you. That's why $100 is more than free.
Oh, perfect, yeah, no problem.
You know, Seth, also known as the voice of reason, says, I wish they would do ACH because the bank charges me $40 for every wire. So it's not going to happen. 45 for you?
Yeah, same, 45. About the same. Yeah.
Add it all up. David will do it for you and he'll give you one total. Good point.
And also, they require deposits of, let's say, 30%. So do we send the 30% first and then the balance, or how does that?
If you want to pay 2 wire fees, if I were you, and you know the budget's not an issue, send the total amount. Yeah. Unless, you know, if you need the money for something else, obviously.
Fair enough.
He wanted me to also remind you, if there's something that you guys really, really need, I did it, you know, gratis for a few people today because I'm obsessed with making sure everyone had a good experience, but that ship's already sailed. If you need somebody to find the product for you specifically and give you one supplier, David's willing to do that with his team for the $500 fee, which you pay to him directly. Okay? If anybody needs that, let him know. Oh shoot, I got another funny story I'm going to tell. Gosh, if I can remember how this went down, we actually had a meeting, one of several meetings in my room with a supplier that we're buying from. And this just happened maybe 20 minutes before our meeting here. So the guy's sitting there and, you know, the translator's going back and forth. We're talking about all these products that we ordered today and we're trying to consolidate it. And, you know, I heard all this back and forth Chinese. Next thing you know, I hear Kobe. I'm like, Kobe? What's Kobe? So the translator said, I said, what are they talking about? He said, well, he wants you to know that he appreciates your business and anything that he has due, he's going to email you and let you know so that you have first right to sell it if you want. I mean, we probably spent $25,000 with him or something, you know, so he was excited. And then I said, well, what's this copy thing? And then she laughs and says, oh, he also said if you see anything you like in the U.S., you can send it to him and he'll copy it for you. That's good. So don't show me what you're selling. David actually, thank you. David actually translated the 15 supplier questions and emailed them to Will.
Yeah, he sent me pictures of them. I asked for a PDF. He said he's going to send it to me tonight. So as soon as I get it, probably sometime tomorrow, I'll send it to you guys. If it doesn't come by tomorrow, then I'll send it as soon as I'm home.
Talking quick, you also promised us a resource.
Yeah, the resource list, I'm going to send them all at the same time, okay? I'm going to email everybody. Guys, I'm not going to print copies here for you. I'll email it. So the resource list has everybody who did not opt out. Nobody actually opted out. And all the people, travel agent, the freight forwarder, Forrest, David's contact information, and so on.
Fresh massage, especially.
I'm going to do Q&A. I have the funniest story. It's going to beat the sock story here in a minute.
Oh man, let's get to that one right now.
Oh, okay. This has to do with our budget. I was actually having a conversation, and I'm going to warn you ahead of time. This is like PG-13. So if anybody's uncomfortable with derogatory terms about male anatomy, then leave the room. I'm only going to say it once. So anyway, Seth and I, when we joined forces in our Amazon business, it was real, you know, he was the guy that was slow and methodical and analytical. And, you know, I'm always pushing the gas pedal all the time. So the first thing we had to do was rent an office space, okay? And I was not working out in my garage anymore, and his employer wouldn't let him use his cubicle to run our Amazon business. So,
Go figure.
Yeah, although he did try. We had to rent an office space, and one of our early products was actually a male enhancement product. It was like a penis extender, I guess, if you will, like a sort of a traction device. And the only reason we sold it, not because it was super funny, but the reason we did it is because this product actually cost $14, you know, and we were buying it through a middleman, and it's sold on Amazon at the time for $299. Yeah, it was beautiful. And it's there. So we actually, when we started the business, every time we added something to our budget, Seth and I would discuss it. He'd be like, man, I don't know about this, Shawn. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, they want us to sign a 2-year lease, and that's like, you know, it's like $750 a month. And we would always literally, when it come time to discuss, you know, purchasing and budget things, we would always break it down to, Seth, that's just 3 more dick stretchers we have to sell. That's honest God truth. We did it for, you know, every expense that we encountered, and it became sort of a running joke. Truth is better than fiction a lot of times, right? I'll give them the mixed company version instead of the male version. So I'm sorry if I offended you, but it's funny as hell. Ain't true. So we want to do Q&A?
Yeah, sure, let's do Q&A.
Any questions? Facial expression, that shit's going on YouTube. VPN. Any questions? I'm dying to go to sleep. So.
Yes, back.
Be careful with that stuff.
And it was because it was thought to have this one material, and it didn't. And so when we figured it all out, it was like 10%. But it was only because we had a new customs broker that was able to figure that stuff out for us. Because the previous custom broker sucked. And so we're paying 70%. And like you said, you get hit with it afterwards. And it's like, holy crap. So you need to know what that is and make sure you have the right customs broker, which is why going to a trusted resource. It doesn't matter what they're charging you for it. It matters what it ends up costing you. Does that make sense? Right? So don't ever just consider cost. So if his guy is like, you know, a couple of $100 more on a $10,000 order, I would never gamble with a different person slightly cheaper that I've never dealt with versus somebody that, you know, a connection like Shawn has provided. And we get nothing, Shawn gets nothing out of referring you to the guys, so.
Well, I get to remind you about it every time you send me an invoice. Yeah, it's a small operation, and there is a likelihood that you could get to a point where it's not taking on any new clients. He claims he can handle the world, but, you know, let's just test him. And really, the cost is insignificant compared to container, you know, the cost of your inventory. And it's somewhere around $90 or $95 per submission, per clearance, and like a $15 document fee. Now, we use them for some shipping, inland freight, and ocean freight too. But, you know, the taxes subject to liquidation would be a line item on your invoice, and that's how much he paid for you already to customs, and then he'll bill you for it. So there's no markup in that at all. It's all just the entry and the document fee. Is that right? Okay. Good deal.
So, quick question.
I think she had one follow-up. Can I come right back to that?
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to know, if you're a UK resident, you only pay VAT after you've earned £86,000 worth. But if you're not a UK resident, you have to pay VAT immediately. That's my understanding. Do not underestimate the value of your product as you bring it into the country. Because any VAT that you pay when you bring it into the country, you can offset against the value of the goods that you sell. So you want to maximise the value of the goods you bring into the UK because it will bring down your VAT bill at the end of the day.
That was way over my head.
Yeah, basically, you pay VAT on the way in, and you pay VAT on what you sell.
So they get you coming in going.
But they offset.
Oh, okay.
So if you pay a lot coming in,
you get that stuff? That's your
So one of everybody here knows who Scott Letourneau is, the sales tax system guy. You've at least heard of him, right? He presented our live event. Most of you are there, right? I asked him about 6 months ago to figure out the VAT stuff for those of us not in Europe, and he is 30 to 45 days from being done with the complete training system. So we'll be talking about that inside the OPV members area and ASM Masters members areas as well. So yeah, he's figured all that out. He's got all the resources, he's got the contacts, he's got the companies. He can open bank accounts without you ever having to travel to the UK. He's getting everything done. He's been working on it for months.
Wow, great.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point when you said don't undervalue. And another point on U.S. customs, it's sort of like filing income tax. You know, you can put anything you want in the form, but if someone comes back and audits that, just like with the income tax return, they can audit your customs entry, and if they find that it's understated, and you have to pay the difference plus a fine and a penalty. So it's better to do it right, and you're going to run into people who say, oh no, you can just, it's okay in China maybe, you know, just pay something. But in the U.S., you have to do it right, and there's a lot of people, and the reason I found out I couldn't compete with the guys in New York on the sheets is because they were bringing it in under a different commodity, under a different SIC code or something, so, you know, there wasn't a level playing field, so. Yeah, wise guys, exactly. So, you know all about the New York.
Absolutely. A little bit.
Your wife had a question.
Yeah, so it goes back to, we gave our POs to David's people, so he's handling that part. We decided to use Forrest for the shipping, so David will hand it over to her. Is his name David too? David Beja?
Beja is, he'll be filing the customs entry for you. So what David will do, he'll work with your supplier, or in this case, he'll work with David because they have a relationship, David Wu and David Beja, right. And he'll have to get forms like ISF form and things like that. And what he'll do before your shipment actually enters the country, he'll do what's called an electronic filing to customs and get a clearance, a pre-clearance before it arrives. If for whatever reason it doesn't clear customs, they may pull it out for an inspection or an X-ray or something like that. You'll know that way ahead of time, and then you also, as the importer of record, will bear the cost of that, which could be pretty expensive, like $1,500 for a full container if they do a full inspection, or about what, $200 to $300 if it's an X-ray. So I know it's not fair, but I didn't make the rule. So yeah.
So we need him. So we need David, and we need Beja, and we need Forrest. We need all of them.
I would use all of them.
Okay.
Forrest claims that she'll do everything from A to Z. I haven't experienced that. All I'm saying is from my personal experience and history, I would use David for procurement, connecting the dots between you and the supplier here. I would use CASA for the ocean freight, Forrest for the FBA, and David Beja for your customs clearance, and they all work together. I mean, they already know each other. They have a relationship. Now, Beja can also book your ocean freight, and Beja can also get you temporary warehousing. Any one of those pieces can do more than one job, but what I would do is exactly what I said. Use each one for what they're good at.
Yeah. I have one more quick question, and it's for Will. Jason was talking about some new service for shipping cheaply from China to U.S. and on air, and I forget what he called it.
E-packets.
Yeah, e-packets, and I don't know anything about it. I mean, I know that we've used it, but I didn't do it. We have a staff member that's handled it.
Right.
And so I don't know.
Because it sounds like it's less expensive than DHL.
Yeah, it's some program between USPS and China Post.
Right. Okay.
And it's just another way to ship it.
But which sounded a lot cheaper though.
It is.
A lot cheaper, yeah.
Steph actually has some air freight rates that David Wu, who's been in the business forever, can't even believe on a product like that. So maybe he can share some contact. You have that shipper information for the air freight? Okay, yeah, so ask Steph about that. Maybe he can.
Because we're going to have
I'll add that to the list if you send that to me in the
we're
next
going to
couple
have
of days.
David send some samples after the factory has them, and they were going to send them by DHL. But if they could be sent that way, it'll be a lot.
It's going to be a little slower.
It's slower?
Yeah, a lot slower.
It's a lot
slower? Has anybody ever ordered anything off of Wish.com or something? And you get this real cheap Chinese stuff, but it takes like 30 to 45 days to receive it. That's e-packet. They use remnant space on flights that are coming to and from, or on boats. So it's not guaranteed. I think it's trackable, but it's just not guaranteed. So it's definitely slow. If you're in a hurry, don't use it. If you want to save money,
Okay.
That's an option.
All right.
It's in between GHL and boat,
And a boat.
right?
Okay.
It's going to be somewhere in between. It could come really fast, or it could take a while.
That is rather okay than DHL.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good move.
If we have an existing customs broker, like in terms of our bond, is that tied to our company or is it tied to the broker?
It's, it should be tied to your company, and if you want to use your existing broker on the bill of lading, when CASA does your ocean freight or for us, just have them put your existing broker in there as the notified party. That way they'll notify them when the container's offshore a few days.
So we should be able to use David Beja, like without having to
Should
get
be able
a
to use
bond
David
or something.
seamlessly, yeah.
Yeah, we had an issue where we switched customs brokers and freight forwarders, and they wouldn't accept the previous bond. But
Yeah,
gosh, the price on it was so little,
Yeah, it's
and
like
they even
$400 or something.
yeah. So we just said, sure, set up a new one. Who cares? If anybody did not give us testimonials earlier, Angel, could you facilitate that? That'd be great. Maybe we can get the camera set up somewhere, right outside in the back.
It's $1.50 guy. I gotta get him on camera.
He wants to hide.
26.
He doesn't want about 700 Facebook private messages, does he? He's a fake name.
Can you tell us about the bus to the airport on Friday morning?
The bus to the airport on Friday morning. Yeah, I had asked David to check into that. He has your itineraries. We just need to figure out, I asked him to figure out how long before the flights we need to get people out. So we'll get it back in here to talk about it.
Could we also find out information on, because we're going to go to the train tomorrow, and we have like a 1:30 train. We didn't see the tickets yet, so, but how long does it take to get there, and how far ahead of time do we need to be there?
So how far ahead of time do they need to go to the train station, Shawn? And how long does it take to get there from
Before the
here?
departure?
Yeah.
You're leaving from here, not from the group outing, right?
Correct.
I mean, from here, it's, to be safe, I would say 45 minutes, you know, and you don't have to be there like any specific time before departure. I mean, you can literally walk onto the platform. So we need to know information about the bus that's leaving Friday morning from here to go to the airport.
To airport?
To airport.
The airport. Yiwu Airport. Did we get a bus? Or were we able to get a bus?
Yeah, we get a taxi or bus. How many people? I don't know.
Yeah, so how many people are, we have their itineraries. We need to look at their itineraries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friday, not
Friday.
Oh, Friday, we have bus, yes. Friday have bus, not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. But it depends on the people, right?
Oh,
So we'll probably have,
run all day then?
we're gonna run all day, yeah. So, how long is the drive to the airport in the bus?
Normally it's 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. I suggest you're there at least 2 hours ahead of time. At least. Maybe a little bit more. So we will have to figure out the bus schedule and somehow hand it to folks tomorrow.
Yiwu is a really small airport. You fly into Yiwu?
Yeah.
Really small airport, one terminal, so it's pretty, they'll be paging me. I won't be there today.
So let's just figure out how we're going to let them know. Tomorrow, can we give a bus schedule? Why don't we post a bus schedule with a concierge?
Our bus schedule.
Let a bus schedule. We schedule the bus back and
We
forth.
just pass the bus here.
Yeah, but we have to go back and forth, right? So why don't we create a bus schedule? So it will leave at 8 o'clock, it will leave at 11 o'clock, it will leave at 2 o'clock. And then you decide when you want to get on the bus. Does that make sense?
So should I?
What if you have a flight that's going up for 7:35 a.m.?
Yeah, if you're super early, we're gonna arrange a taxi for you.
So you need multiple trips to the airport, schedule it.
Schedule it.
Plan.
And then, so let's give the schedule tomorrow to the concierge. And so you go to the concierge tomorrow and ask about the Rapid Crush bus to the airport on Friday, and they will show you a schedule. Make sense? Okay, perfect. And you may have to, based on the schedule, you may have to be there 3 hours in advance. I mean, it's whatever we can arrange. Yeah.
And tomorrow, we want to go to the airport tomorrow evening. We you have to arrange a taxi or something?
Yeah, so we're only providing transportation on Friday, which is the normal departure day, yeah. What time are you going to the airport?
My flight is 10 to 7, so what time would you suggest?
You can get in the car with me probably, because I'm going around the same time. I'm leaving around 4 o'clock, between 4 and 4:30.
Anybody leaving on Sunday morning?
Sunday morning?
I know that when we made our train tickets with Tony yesterday, or the day before, we also paid for the shuttle from the hotel to the train station. How do we?
It's what it sounded like they were asking for with the whole $10 fee.
Yeah.
The $10 fee had nothing to do with getting you guys shuttles.
That's what I kind of gathered earlier, but when they
To
asked
cover their
for it,
cost of going and picking up the train
when
ticket.
they asked for it, it sounded like they were setting up a taxi for us at the same time. That's why people thought it was optional.
Yeah.
No.
So how do we?
No, but I'm saying that's the way it was presented.
Okay, yeah, but it's miscommunication, folks. There's nothing arranged, so you've got to get your own. You've got to get yourself over there.
David says it's a maximum of $10 taxi fee to go from here to the train station.
This is worse than the
Small station.
airport is worse.
Well, once we get to the train station, I mean, we'll have our tickets, and then do we know where to go once we get in there?
They have the train number and the platform number on the ticket, right? And you tell them where you're going. Is everybody going to Shanghai through Hangzhou? It's on the big board, and it'll have the platform and the train number.
Thank you.
If that doesn't work, follow somebody with one of these.
How long does it take to get to the train station?
30 minutes, you said. 30,
Yeah, from
30
here
to
to
45.
30.
It does depend the time we leave. If you leave at like 4:30 in the afternoon, there's a lot of traffic. I was out at about 4:30, 5 o'clock today, and it was a lot of traffic. If you leave at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, no traffic. All right, any other questions? Man, I think everybody got their passports?
No.
Where are the passports?
Tony's
In the hallway waiting for the, oh, okay,
If he
great.
has a ticket inside the passport.
No testimonial, no passports.
If you haven't
Just
paid-
kidding, I'm just kidding.
If you haven't paid for your train ticket, Tony has your name on a list. Pay him, grab your ticket and your passport.
Okay, great. So again, really would appreciate some testimonials. Share your stories, share about how you did and how you believe this is going to help your business or has already helped your business in some cases. The new translators just arrived in the room, so
hello, translators.
Hello. So let's go ahead and get your assignments done. So let's go to the back and get you a translator assigned for the next coming days. And thank you everybody for coming. Really enjoyed meeting many of you and loved hearing the stories, loved seeing the POs and seeing the happy faces and the transformations especially in the last couple of days. Really awesome. So everybody give yourselves a hand.